This is the most annoying character in Band of Brothers. A leader despised by his men, disconsidered by his superiors, taken away from his soon-to-be frontline command, and sent to a back-office job, Captain Sobel is contrasted in every way with much better leaders like Winters, Nixon, and Spears. It is very easy to watch the amazing series Band of Brothers, closely based on real-life people and events, and come away with the conclusion that Captain Sobel is an example of how not to be. And you wouldn't be wrong at all, except there's one little nagging thing. Despite all his flaws, I cannot point to one bad intention on Sobel's side. In his clumsy, awkward, and occasionally stupid ways, he always tried to do what he thought was best for the army and his men. And the tragedy of it is that even though you initially hate him and despise him, you come to understand that. And just like his superiors, you realize that this is a man with good intentions and a man who wants to do the right thing, but he is utterly incapable of it, and you have to remove him from his position for the sake of his men. And I don't know about you, but I'm bothered by this. And I'm bothered because I am a huge believer in human potential. I am a huge believer that we can improve ourselves. We can overcome our weaknesses. We can make ourselves better. But I'm not sure I would be able to fix Sobel if that were my job. On paper, he's got a lot going on for him, right? He's honest, hardworking, disciplined, he's not stupid, he means well. There's a lot to work with here. But there's something key missing here, and that's wisdom. A certain understanding of when to push and when to take it easy. A certain understanding that you have the formal loyalty to the army, but you also have an unwritten loyalty to your men. A certain understanding that your people are going to understand why you're tough and uncompromising when you have to be, as long as they see that you also understand when you don't have to be like that. Things that cannot be put in a manual, things that cannot be explained in a set of rules. A leadership wisdom that Winters, for example, has in abundance, but Sobel lacks completely. And that is Sobel's core problem. He is entirely algorithmic. He cannot read between the lines to save his life. He doesn't understand exceptions unless you give him a set of rules for it. And he is entirely incapable of nuances. The only way to interact with him is like you would interact with an Excel file. And while that might make for a good administrator, in some situations it makes for a bad leader. I've met a few people like Captain Sobel in my life. I was the manager for some, intersected with some others, colleague for others. And let me tell you, they're very hard people to work with. There's a particular person I'm thinking of right now which reminds me exactly of Captain Sobel. The same overeagerness to focus 110% on the wrong thing while being completely blind to what really matters is, I think, a common trait of this type of person. The person I'm thinking of had a small leadership role, and just like Sobel, because he just went too far, too much on some stupid things, he quickly lost the respect of his people. And soon enough, everybody was laughing at him behind his back because he was just ridiculous in how he approached things. And I find myself in a position where I had to often defend him, like, be the reasonable, balanced individual and explain to people that, hey, he's not so bad, he has good intentions, he has his reasons. But obviously that didn't make people stop. And whenever I talked to him and gave him feedback, I found him declaratively very willing to listen. He was like, yes, I want to listen, I want to improve myself. He knew all the right words, continuous improvement, self-development. He wanted to be proactive. He had all the right words. But I found him in practice very difficult to teach anything because he wanted me to explain every piece of advice to him in such a mechanical and formulaic way that I found naive and frankly impossible. But I never saw any bad intentions on his side, and he was a hard worker, so I kept trying, but in the end I wasn't able to help him too much. I think he learned a few things, I think he changed a few things, but mostly I don't consider that I really helped him overcome his main problem. Him, Sobel, and others like them I've met share a lack of wisdom, a lack of charisma, and a lack of emotional intelligence. And that's a deadly combination for anyone who wants to be a leader. They just go too far on the wrong thing and they spin out of control. And if I'm to think of what the solution would be, I think they just need to slow the way down. Just slow down. Take it easy, don't overreact, don't go too far, don't make 15 decisions a second. Have some patience. And I think even beneath that, there's a lack of self-confidence. Like we see here with Sobel, all he has to do is just sit tight. But because he is uncertain about something, because he experiences a few seconds of uncertainty, of ambiguity, he just freaks out. He spins out of control. He cannot just sit there, so he has the need to do something, whatever, so he decisively does the wrong thing, when all he needed to do was just to have the patience to sit still. I feel bad for Sobel and other people like him that I've met. All of them, they're good people. They want to do the right thing. They have good intentions. They're hard workers. They mean well, but they just lack the right skills, the right attitude, and the wisdom, and the leadership wisdom in particular, to work with people in real life situations, to solve real problems and get real stuff done. And I think that's a bit sad and a bit tragic, if you will, because for the good of the team, you end up having to remove them from their position, just like it happened to the real Sobel. And you know you have to do it, but you don't feel good about it either. And even though you know you did the right thing, you're left with a bitter taste because you wish you could have done more. But sometimes there's no perfect answer, and all you can do is the best you can do.